My husband and I finally bought our absolute dream cabin in Lake Tahoe last year, but it wasn't easy. We saved aggressively for 5 straight years, skipping vacations, eating cheap takeout, and working crazy overtime hours just to afford the down payment. It is a beautiful property, but the mortgage is massive. The only way we can actually afford to keep it is by renting it out on Airbnb for 10 months out of the year. We rely completely on that rental income to keep our heads above water and pay the property taxes. Enter my sister-in-law, Chloe. Chloe is 24, the youngest of the family, and the textbook definition of a golden child. She has never been told the word no in her entire life. A few months ago, Chloe announced she was getting married to her high school sweetheart. We were genuinely thrilled for her. But last week, during our Sunday family dinner, things took a sharp left turn. While we were all eating dessert, Chloe stood up and announced her grand honeymoon plans. She looked right at me with a huge smile and said she was so excited to spend an entire month at our Lake Tahoe cabin to celebrate her new marriage. Not a weekend, not a single week, an entire month. And she wanted it during July, which is our absolute peak rental season, where we make the vast majority of our annual income. I almost choked on my drink. I looked at my husband, expecting him to step up and say something, but he just stared down at his plate. So I had to be the bad guy. I smiled politely and told Chloe that while we would love to host them, July is completely booked out, and giving up the cabin for a month would mean losing out on over $8,000 in rental income. I explained that we literally use that exact money to pay the mortgage, so we simply couldn't afford to let her stay there for free. The dining room went dead silent. Chloe's face turned bright red, tears welled up in her eyes, and she stormed out of the house without saying another word. Less than an hour later, my phone started blowing up. My mother-in-law left me 3 furious voicemails, calling me greedy, selfish, and completely unsupportive. She said that family should always come first, and that I was ruining her daughter's one chance at a perfect honeymoon just to line my own pockets. She demanded that I cancel our paying Airbnb guests and hand over the keys to Chloe immediately. The pressure became intense. Even my husband started to crack under the weight of his mother's guilt trips. He pulled me aside and begged me to just eat the $8,000 loss to keep the peace in the family. He said we could just put our own living expenses on a credit card for a few months to survive. I told him absolutely not. Trying to be the bigger person, I called Chloe the next day to offer a reasonable compromise. I told her I could block out 1 week for them in late August, and I would give it to her at a 50% discount, which was just enough to cover the cleaning fees and our basic utilities. She actually laughed on the phone. She said, "Family doesn't charge family," and called me a cheapskate. But here is the kicker. Later that same week, a mutual friend let it slip that Chloe wasn't just planning a romantic getaway for 2. She had secretly invited 10 of her loud, party animal friends to come crash at the cabin for the entire month to throw a massive extended post-wedding bash. They were going to absolutely trash our pristine luxury property. When I found that out, I saw red. I formally revoked the discounted offer and told my mother-in-law that Chloe wasn't stepping foot on our property, paid or unpaid. Now it has become a full-blown family war. Half of my husband's family is completely ignoring us, and my mother-in-law has officially threatened to boycott our upcoming Thanksgiving dinner unless I issue a formal apology to Chloe and hand over the keys. My husband is miserable and thinks I should have just stayed quiet and let her have it to avoid this nightmare. But I refuse to jeopardize our financial future and risk our hard-earned property being destroyed by an entitled brat. Am I the jerk here?